Namaste. On behalf of the Anveshanam team, I, Aishwarya Raman, welcome you all to the last day of Vachana Lahari series. This series celebrates an artistic reverence to Lord Shiva on the auspicious occasion of Mahashivaratri and comprises of vachanas by Saints Basavanna, Akka Mahadevi and Shanmukha Swami. Vachana Lahari has been conceptualized by Srimati Usha Prabhu Hungund and myself. Each vachana is sung by Usha Prabhu Hungund and is presented by a different dancer, and the literary discourse is provided by the scholarly Sri Vishwanand Pattanashetty. Today, I will be presenting a vachana of Saint Basavanna. I would like to give a quick introduction about today's artists. Vocalist Usha Prabhu Hungund, narrator Vishwanand Pattanashetty, and dancer Aishwarya Raman. Srimati Usha Prabhu Hungund is a leading Indian classical vocalist, composer, and teacher with primary focus being Carnatic music. Her initial training was under the guidance of Vidwan Sri Sringeri H.S. Nagaraj, and she further continued her training under Vidushi Srimati M.S. Sheila from Bengaluru. Presently, she is pursuing her advanced training under the tutelage of Vidwan Sri Malladi Suri Babu from Vijayawada. Sri Vishwanand Pattanashetty is a Bay Area resident who enjoys making short films and acting in plays. He loves and enjoys discussing philosophy as well as psychology, and whenever possible gives talks about Vachana Sahitya. Kumari Aishwarya Raman, a disciple of Kala Yogi Guru Srimati Vandya Srinath, has been learning and performing Bharatanatyam for over 20 years now and has successfully completed her Arangetram under her Guru's guidance. She has performed extensively in India, the Middle East and the United States. Along with dancing, Aishwarya has supported various dancers on Natuvangam and also emceed for different dance events. While Aishwarya holds a Vidvat degree in Bharatanatyam, she is also a master's graduate in biomedical engineering from University of Southern California. She is currently working in a medical device startup in San Francisco Bay Area and continues her passion for dance by performing in Bay Area and other states regularly. She is the founder of Anveshanam and collaborates with other artists to organize and promote arts through this platform. To learn more about our presenters and performers, please refer to the post on Anveshanam Facebook page and Instagram profile. If you have any questions about vachanas or would like to share any information about Vachana Sahitya, please reach out to us via Facebook or Instagram. Also, please like and share our page on both the social media platforms and do subscribe to Anveshanam's YouTube channel. All the videos will be available on our YouTube channel once the series ends. We now present to you Saint Basavanna's Vachana, Chakorange Chandramana Belakina Chinte, in Raaga Sindhubhairavi and Trishra Nadai Adi Taala.
Chakorange Chandramana Belakina Chinte, Ambujake Banuvina Udayana Chinte, ಭ್ರಮರಂಗೆ ಪರಿಮಳದ ಬಂಡುಂಬ ಚಿಂತೆ ಎನಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೌಡಲ ಸಂಗನ ಶರಣರ ನೆನೆವುದೇ ಚಿಂತೆ. The sunbird, Chakora, longs for the moonlight. The lotus craves for the sunrise. The bee yearns to drink in the nectar of the flower. For me, the craving is to remember our Kodala Sangamadeva. The Sharana movement that took place in the 12th century Karnataka was a very fascinating place, filled with mysticism, devotion, yoga, kayaka, which means honest work. There have been several movements or spiritual traditions that have risen across the world. For example, Vaishnava tradition, Buddhism, Madhva tradition, etc. But what is unique to the Sharana movement, however, is that the diverse schools of thought and approaches existed at the same time, and each Sharana embraced a path of their own to realize the ultimate truth. Let us consider some of the prominent and well-known Sharanas. Allama Prabhu was a great proponent of Gnana Marga. Having been a part of the Nath tradition, lineage of Hatha Yoga practitioners, he has also written elaborately about the intricacies of Hatha Yoga. Chandra Basavanna, on the other hand, was called a Sugnani, owing to his intellectual prowess and his ability to put across metaphysical knowledge and about sadhana practice in a much more formalized and scriptural manner. He discusses the Shaivism philosophies and Shiva Yoga principles in the classical terms. There was also space for Sharana movement for the likes of Akkamahadevi or Bonta Devi, who walked away from the traditional path of family life. It was very rare in those times for women to walk away from their homes and society. At a very young age, and they dedicated themselves wholly by walking into the arms of their beloved transcendental Shiva. Then there was someone like Basavanna, who was the key architect behind the whole Sharana movement. He was the Prime Minister of Bijala Kingdom, where the whole movement took place. Basavanna was a great promoter of Kayaka, rightful, honest and selfless work, an even bigger Bhakta, ardent devotee. He was fondly called as Bhakti Bhandari, a storehouse of devotion. He could go to any lengths in his compassion and devotion to serve the needs of his fellow devotees. This Vachana is written by Basavanna. The Vachana mentioned talks about the intense yearning or longing a devotee has for the Almighty. The Chakora bird mentioned in the Vachana must be a nocturnal bird. There are several birds like owls and nightjars that come to life only when the sun sets and the moonlight is visible. They are known to be very dull and inactive during the day. In a similar vein, Basavanna here says his devotion and longing to merge with Shiva or Kudala Sangamadeva is like a Chakora bird yearning for the moonlight. It's like the lotus that opens up when the sun is out. He says this is like the bee that has dedicated all its life to collect nectar from the flower and in turn convert it into honey. The life of Basavanna too is not any different from the bee. All his life was dedicated in creating the Sharana movement. The movement played an important role in the promotion of devotional, social, spiritual and cultural values. By collecting the wisdom of his fellow Sharanas, he has left behind a great amount of honey in the form of his teachings, which are followed devoutly by his followers to this day. In the final sentence of the Vachana, he talks about a very special kind of craving that he has for Shiva or Kudala Sangamadeva. Like the bee, the lotus and the night bird, his entire life was dependent on the remembrance of Shiva. This was always on the back of his mind, irrespective of the secular and worldly activities that he undertook as a Prime Minister. It is a testimony to how people can function simultaneously in the world at the same time away from it. We can see this kind of longing in other devotees belonging to different eras and ages. Radha and the Gopikas would forget the whole world in their intense longing to merge with Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a great saint from Bengal, was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, prayed to Krishna by imagining himself to be a Radha. This kind of devotion is called Madhura Bhava, and it exists till today. There are several people across the world who continue to have a similar longing for Krishna, imagining themselves to be Radha. Mirabai too was another such person who is known to have shown intense yearning towards Lord Krishna. Basavanna's contemporary and fellow Sharane Akkamadevi here herself was a testimony to such devotion. For a large part of her spiritual journey, she prayed and yearned to unite with her Chandamallikarjuna, another name for Shiva. There were also other women who have shown similar devotion to the Almighty. Laldet or Laleshwari of Kashmir was known for her intense love and devotion for the Almighty. Andal of Tamil Nadu is also a similar story. In recent times too, such intense devotion and longing can be seen in someone like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who was crazy in his devotion for Mother Kali, and so intense was his longing for her that he once threatened to kill himself if he did not have the vision of Kali. Even in the tradition of Sharanas, there is a concept of Sharanasati Lingapati, which can roughly be translated as Sharana is the wife and Linga is the husband. The love that a Sharana or a Sadhaka practicing Shiva Yoga has is just like the unconditional love that a wife has for her husband. In the earliest ages, when women were mostly confined within the four walls of their homes, their husbands meant the world to them, both literally and figuratively. Therefore, this phrase brings out the concept of worshipping the linga with the same feeling that a wife has for her husband. It's not very different from the Madhura Bhava, the kind of devotion that was shown by Radha towards Krishna. This kind of devotion is very rare and uncommon. We mostly encounter people who pray at a scheduled time in a scheduled places like temples, churches, or the altars in their own homes. But the Vachana mentioned here describes a state of mind of those who are enraptured by devotion to the Almighty. They are so absorbed in their devotion that their entire life revolves around it. Most of the people rarely manage to have a regular social life. People such as these. Their life is dedicated wholly in uniting the Supreme, uniting with the Supreme. This Vachana is a peek into the mind of such devotees.
Chakorange Chandramana Belakina Chinte, Chakorange Chandramana Belakina Chinte, Chakorange Chandramana Belakina Chinte. Chandramana Belakina Chinte, Brahmarange Parimalada Brahmarange Parimalada Bandum Chinte, Brahmarange Parimalada Bandum Chinte, Brahmarange Parimalada Bandum Chinte, Yanage Kudala Sangama Devana Nevude Chinte, 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 Yanage ಬೆಳಕಿನ ಚಿಂತೆ ಬೆಳಕಿನ